you want a blog written and you only want to spend $50, I'll write you a blog in 10 minutes.
All this other work that you need to probably make all these decisions within, and then you're going to be wrong anyway.
That's not the question. The question is, help me make a product that is highly valuable to my users. They go, this sucks. And you're like, well, you moved everything out of it. Like, if you trusted me and you let me do my thing, I've seen just the most atrocious PDs. And I think, again, because for people who are hiring marketers, they go, oh, how hard marketing? You just write some crap. I'm doing 50 things at once, and none of them are working, and the CEO's getting angry at me. They go, well, your blog was crap.
My blog was good.
Yeah.
You came to me asking for a webinar.
Yeah. You're going to
shut up, or you do it. Hello, Alex. How are you doing today?
Good, Jack. How are you?
I am so good. I am so happy, and I'm so glad to be talking to you again. Yes, in the same room, discussing marketing stuff, fun marketing stuff, not fun marketing stuff.
Let's not pretend it's Friday afternoon and we're tired.
No, that's definitely not what's happening at this second in time. But we are going to talk about something that has been an issue, certainly for me in my career, but I know that a lot of marketers have this challenge, which is how do we sell our services? So whether that be an internal marketer who is selling to a company, you effectively as an employee, you sell your services to the company, or whether that be a consultant selling to clients. How do we do this? How do we productize that? What do we offer? And we can talk about some of the issues that we see specific to marketing that probably a lot of other disciplines don't necessarily have. What do you do about it? Like, what is the way around it? We're marketers. We like being marketers. But yeah, we have all dealt with unrealistic expectations once or twice, once or 200 times. Yeah,
every time.
Yeah, so I think this is a cool episode to think about how we present ourselves to clients or to employers.
Because we've spoken to listers, right, who are in that position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know that you've got an example where you tried to sell a webinar recently, and I think this story highlights the problem really well. So maybe I might hand over to you. And if you can just talk about that, and we can go from there.
So I think the story is there, but let me just set the context on the back of that too. I think this goes down to, and I'm looking forward to this episode because it is, to me, the biggest issue in marketing is that people want to buy outcomes or people want to buy determinate things, and it's impossible to do that in marketing. Like we all know, you do something on a hypothesis, an indicator to hopefully get an outcome, might be better or worse, we don't know. If I hire an accountant to do my tax return, I'm going to get my tax return done. Maybe things happen off the back of that, but if they're a good one, you don't get audited. But it's like you get something there. If I pay for a burger, I'm going to get a burger. So the thing is, with marketing, that you can't do that. And people who are not in this and who come to you usually come to you with outcome-driven reasons, and you can't give them outcome-driven reasons. So this story was of someone who came to me, a referral from someone else, and said, oh, I heard you do webinars. I would like to do webinars. And I said, great. Like, tell me how you got to this point. I said, well, I've seen people do it. They get a lot of leads. I need leads. Let's do some webinars. And I was like, okay. Well, great. Tell me, what have you thought of so far? Like, what is your thing? What is the topic? Why do you want to do it? To be fair, he had some pretty good points. He was like, there's a certain time of the year where his market sort of gets a lot of attention around a certain topic. Let's do a lead up into that. I said, yep, you're definitely thinking the right way. And he goes, great, we'll take 6 months to prepare for this thing. And I was like, my God, you don't have to do that much. Like, it's not, we're not filming Avatar. This is like, relax.
Maybe we are.
It was CGI, the whole thing. Like, it doesn't, and particularly earlier on, I was like, well, we don't know if it's going to be successful. That's his hypothesis. Ironically, what I like to do, if someone goes, I want a blog, that's determinate. I can write you a blog. What they think deep down is, I want to convert my followers to paid clients. And I think it's because of a blog. And again, if that's what they think, that's what they trust, I trust them. The reality is, as we know, you do that and it doesn't work, and they go, well, your blog was crap. And you're like, well, that's not it at all. There's a big reason behind that. So this guy went through and did his webinar.
My blog was good.
Yeah. Or maybe it was, like, I don't know.
Put it back in your pipe and smoke it, mate. My blog was good.
Yeah. Screw you.
Yeah,
that's right. And he came in, he was like, we'll do the webinar. He sort of had a topic there, and then each bit by each bit, I was like, great, so we'll do, and I think it's like a 4-week lead time, right? Or 3 weeks. You can do one in 1 week if you want, but I was like, let's find a guest, do the topic, we'll script it, we'll send out invites, we'll invite people to it, like do the whole, like I've got a scope of work, we'll go through, we'll do all this stuff. And each time we did it, he was sort of like nitpicking each thing. He's like, oh, do we need to do that? And do you guys involvement? I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was at the end of the day, how about instead, you take this conversation, you do it yourself. Second one is, or I do like a 1 hour session and I write you a list and I go do this. or I do it with you. Like there's different prices of this. If you want me
Yeah.
to do the entire thing and run the webinar, it's going to cost more. Like it's to take more of my time.
You're so much more polite than me.
Yeah.
It's like if you would like to do it yourself, you are free
If
to
you
do
would
that, my
kindly
friend.
like to get
Yes.
fucked, then please do it yourself.
I'm more in the latter there. Yeah, you came to me asking for a webinar.
Yeah. You're going to
Shut
get
up, or you do it. I'll even log on to this webinar and just troll it and go, mate, this is such a shit webinar.
Yeah.
Get to people, send links in the webinar chat,
Yeah.
telling them to go to another one that's better.
That's funny. But I think the point of that is though that like on those webinars though, like that's an example of it. But if that's what they're after, and I try not to go like, because that's the whole thing when it's non-determinate. I can't say if it's going to work or not work. It might go bunta and you might get 1,000 leads. Like I don't know. So, but what I like to say is, I don't like to say they're wrong. I like to wait for the market to tell them they're wrong, because I'm not the bad guy, and also I want them to be right. I want them to find the right answer. And they go, "What if I try this?" I don't know. Try it. It could work, but I'm not going to do it. So, got to the end anyway. Went through all this one, and I was like, I'll do the right thing. And I wrote a full scope of work, a full time, basically a project manual on how to do it. Because he was like, "How do I do it?" And he was questioning a lot, which already gave me red flags. And I was like, when you start nitpicking at each little thing. And I was like, half and half. And then I got to the end and I said, hey, this is what I can do. How about I just do, because if my servers are under 4 hours, I charge like a higher hourly rate because it's more committing. Plus I did extra time to build it. And he was like, I'll do 4 hours over 4 weeks. And he was like, oh, so like what else are you going to do in that time? So no, 4 hours hourly rate, 4 times that hourly rate is my price. And then totally ghosted me. Totally just left it. Took my scope of work, which again I kind of did it originally because I wanted that own scope of work, and it was a good catalyst for me to do it.
So you didn't charge for it though?
No.
Okay.
And he was like, "I'm gonna do my own thing," and I was like, "Yeah, go for your life." Like, I get if you want to try and make things in a budget, but the problem is, and I know we say this a lot, if you want a blog written and you only want to spend $50, I'll write you a blog in 10 minutes. I'll give you the outcome if you want it. So I'll give you the process if you want it. It'd probably be a piece of crap, but I can write the same blog with the same amount of words and take 2 weeks, but do interviews and research and deep dive into it and test it and do a bunch of that. And it could work really well and become an evergreen piece that generates heaps of leads. But the problem is, even then, I can't even guarantee that. I might still get the same outcome, but I can promise you that doing a ChatGPT blog is going to give you nothing, and no one's going to care, and it's going to be a waste of your time.
And in that instance, my mind goes straight to the fact that person probably doesn't understand that you then need to format the blog, and then you need to be able to use whatever, if it's on WordPress or whatever it is on, you need to be able to, someone has to log in. Login's kind of easy. I'm making that seem a bit more difficult.
But there's more steps.
Logins, I've added this to like my line item. Is
Login $10, Jack.
Put that on my invoice. I logged into WordPress. Yeah, you do have to log in, but that I am right about that.
Yeah.
Format it, headline, but just all the little fiddly things that you actually have to still do just to bring that to life. Which an uneducated client on that would just go, oh, just post it.
Yes.
So that $50 is also all this other work that you need to probably make all these decisions within, and then you're going to be wrong anyway because why did you put that image there and why did you do this?
And it's a whole cake theory too, because I know the exact same with that webinar too, is that you go, make me cake, here's the cake's just there, and then you go, cool, it'll take a couple of hours, need to use the oven, whatever it is, all these like power for this stuff, and you go, and then when you let them undo the hood and they go, it's too much, take out the eggs, I don't like eggs, double the amount of sugar because I like sugar, and then this piece of crap cake comes out, and they go, this sucks, and you're like, well, you moved everything out of it. Like, if you trusted me and you let me do my thing, and again, I'm not saying that because I've also seen agencies or consultants overpriced in certain areas too, so I get it, I get both sides of the story. I think that to me is the hardest thing in the world, is that it's multifaceted, it's highly variable, nothing is guaranteed. You can hire the best marketer in the world, and like, it's still not guaranteed, which is where a lot of my services come into the testing phase of like, they either have their own hypothesis, like they go, hey, we get asked every second question by our customers, they want this thing, can you help me build it? Absolutely, that's a great approach. You've got evidence, you've got thing to put in there, build it. But then if people go, hey, we want to start a webinar series, or we want to do a podcast, it's like, oh, well, why? Because we want a podcast, because you can grow your brand and stuff. And you go like, I know we spoke about this on another episode, but it's like, that's cool, but then let's be very clear on what you're going to get out of that. If you want to run 6 episodes and trial it, does it work? Maybe, like, and then let's be very clear of what is success and what is not success. You get 1 follower, is that a success? Maybe. If you need 500 followers, Is 6 episodes enough? That's a hypothesis. Probably not.
No, not unless you got some access to 100,000 person database, really desperate for this podcast. You're not going to get 500 listeners. I'm sorry.
Correct.
In those first 6 episodes.
So like, but the whole point of that being is that like, you've got, it's the means to it. And I think that's the hardest stuff with consultants and with internally as well, is that it's hard to do it because everyone who's not the marketing team, and I feel the same with product people and engineers, like they go, build me a product, and an engineer could whip up a product pretty quickly. It could be a piece of crap and buggy as hell, but they'll do it. That's not the question. The question is, help me make a product that is highly valuable to my users and satisfies this use case. That's the question. And I think that's the same with marketing as well. And so I think internally too, and I think there's a big issue at the moment, and I think I've done probably just under 100 JDs, like job descriptions this year. I've looked through for partly research, partly content, and just out of curiosity for the market. And I reckon I've seen just the most atrocious PDs. And I think, again, because for people who are hiring marketers, they go, well, how hard's marketing? You just write some crap, talk to the sales team, build a couple of decks. I'm not paying you more than 70K. Like, go, no. And so they price it really low, and then you read the PDs. And I think I found one the other day, it was up to 7. I counted like 7 different titles.
Ooh,
and it was like
PD.
in the one PD, it was like, I need SEO, I need demand generation, lead generation, sales enablement, like growth marketing, testing, all these things,
nice,
events, like both online, offline. It got out of control, and they're like 70K. I was like, two things are going to happen. You're going to hire a junior who's over naive and is going to disappoint you, or you're going to hire someone who's going to lie because they're desperate for a job.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'll pull myself up because I'll go down a rabbit hole on this. All these really great marketers who could do a good chunk of that and actually do a very good job in the business, first of all, need more than that much because they've like 10, 15 years in the business and they're worth it. And so many of them are going out on their own. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably part of the reason I did my same thing as well, because I saw these jobs asking for 10 different jobs at once for half the pay, when I can go out and consult and do my own services at a reasonable amount of money and provide my value and dictate that as well. And usually I come into these companies and these marketing people are like run through, they're exhausted. They're like, I'm doing 50 things at once and none of them are working and the CEO is getting angry at me.
Yeah, we've been in the seat before, so we don't come in and let's gaslight the marketing team further. No, I'm very honest when I come into a company about what I think's wrong, and it's what I think's reasonable for a marketing role, like any role within the marketing team. So those JDs, I haven't actually read them, but that gives me. I was thinking SEO and events. I don't know how many people would actually have those two skills within the one person. Like that's such different skill sets. But anyway, some people are hopeful, aren't they? Some companies.
And they think, I'll hire this unicorn, which also my last thing I'll say on that, I think we said the analogy I use is someone who goes, I want to build a house. And they go, I just want a guy build. I want a house builder. And then they go in there, and to your point, it's like saying, I need someone who does landscaping, do the footings, concreting,
bricklaying, plumbing,
put the plumbing in, do an electrician, do the fitting of the lights, the painting, everything else, and then sell it. And then I need a real estate agent. And you go, that's 17 roles in one. And then, but then they look back, they look at the house, they go, but it's just a house. I just need the house. And you go, well, you're not actually understanding the pieces behind it. And to your point then, SEO, it's like saying, I need someone who has an excavator and do, maintenance on a rock enclave, and then also do the plumbing at the back of the yard. It's like, those are 2 different jobs, totally different jobs.
And the interior design.
And build me a chandelier while you're at it.
I like the last part. I think one thing I would say is my philosophy at the moment is 90% of my success as a consultant is determined in that scoping stage, though, that what am I going to offer? Because once you've offered and you've shaken hands and agreed to something, that's the expectation set at that point. Bear that in mind. I'd say that's the same thing with a job. You set yourself up for success with what jobs you go for and with what expectations you set and agree to in the interview stage. That's my view. I do think there needs to be clear deliverables. And a reasonable amount of work, not an insane amount of work, and a cultural fit. Like those are some of the things I look for. I'm lucky as a consultant because what I can do now is I can taste. I can help out for a few hours, charge an hourly rate, and if we're going well, we can keep going, or if it's not that great, we can stop if it's not the right fit. So that's something that consultants would have that not necessarily a employee would have. You kind of, once you're in, it's a bit hard to just, jump around all the time.
And also to that exact point, I think, like I know there's some, we've met listeners on the podcast who do internal marketing and external. The reality is they both should be the same role, right? You have a fixed scope or a set scope. The problem is though, and same with like the product stuff, when you're an internal marketer, you get pulled in every direction. And I'm going to say, I'd say 19 out of 20, if not more, marketers I talk with all said exactly the same thing. They're like, I'm pulled every which way direction. The company doesn't have a direction. I'm asked to do 15 things at once. They're all average at best. They get angry it's not working. Sales are pissed it's not enabling them more. Like it's all these same things happen, and it still comes back to that point. Which, to your point, you've got to have a cultural and a respect from top down, which is the same as the product direction. I think what they say, one persona, one problem, one channel. If you, well, in the early days at least, like focus on that. If you're going to be say socially driven or SEO driven, hire someone who's in that role and go hard at that, and do tests around that, which is where I can help. But you do those tests around that to go, I think on this a newsletter would really help. And there's a company I worked for recently who, same thing, they went a couple of years, built this massive CRM full of these people are interested, but B2B wasn't the right time. And I was like, well, you've got a nurturing thing there. Like, you can go find new customers, but you've got so many you've already met. Nurture them. And over time, you can hopefully massage and they'll come out the other end and be like ready to go, or the right time, the right budget. And it was like, okay, that's a fixed scope. That's a need to fix it. A problem that was somewhat acting as an internal marketer, and we'll just do that. Here's a set scope of work, but the problem is that's not what happens. People come in and go, oh, we should do a newsletter and a blog series, and then turn that into socials, and then maybe start a TikTok, and then maybe we'll look at like partnering with that other one, or do some affiliate marketing or UGC on top of that as well. And the problem is they're all could work. It's not a bad idea, but the only way I get across the line is I tell people it's the same as a product. The people go, oh, what if the product did this and this and this? Yeah, probably. There's probably 87 things the product could do that's good. You have time, resource, and capacity for 2.
Yep.
So pick those 2.
Yep.
And it's exactly the same process. Test it. Here's my hypothesis. Everyone keeps asking this one question. If I build a product like this, I'll add more value to them.
Yeah.
Same as marketing. I think this, let's try, okay, you got 10 things. Let's try this one this month.
Yep.
Let's do this.
And you can say, I like this saying is, okay, we can do that instead of what? Just say instead of what. So you're always setting that context that, okay, we'll have to stop. We'll have to make room for this. That's quite effective, actually.
And running sprints on that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And that's when I started doing a little, one of the companies I worked with, and not in like a passive aggressive way, but I had like the top 5 priorities I'm working on and like a little alley thing to go, this is much time I have. And then to your point, then they'll be like, oh, let's try this thing. I'm like, cool, which one do you want me to, or like this thing will be done next week. Do you want me to do it after that? And you sort of manage that timeline there. And I think sometimes top down don't see that, and they go like, well, that's their job. They're the marketer, same as the developers, right? They build the product. Just build the product.
Do your job.
Do your job, right? God, don't give me sass. Just build it.
I'll finish on this example, I think, for this episode, where we've talked about what is important to us. So for me, again, 90% of, treat it as 90% of your success will come from the upfront, the agreement upfront, and who you agree to that with. Recently, I was speaking to someone who wanted to build this retail brand in the golf vertical, I believe, with no experience in it. He wanted me to help him put together a launch strategy for it. Fine, that's okay. He wanted it to be successful enough that him and his wife could just work on that full time and get paid a salary and all this. If anyone knows retail, that you're looking at probably $1 million in revenue just to get to that stage where you've got 2 full-time employees. Do those full-time employees have any skills in this type of business? No, not really. Like there was very few transferable skills that I could see. But yeah, it was about getting out of his job. So I said to him, oh yeah, well, I can consult for you. Like, and again, I start off on a small scale. I'll consult for you at $300 an hour. Like that was my rate at the time. And he didn't like that. He thought, oh no, that's so much and all this. And in my mind, it's like, mate, you are looking to build $1 million business, you know.
You need all the investment you can get.
Yeah, you if this is too much for you to spend a couple of hours with me, a few hours with me, you know, good luck.
Yep.
So I knew from that's not the right client for me.
Yep.
But and honestly, I would have advised against the actual building this brand. But I would have tried to help them solve their problem of getting out of their jobs.
Yep.
But I wouldn't have done it this way. I would play to your strengths more, build a brand that you already have some skills in, some transferable skills, and you can, you can get a leg up before you started, not just, let's start from scratch, basically. So that's an example of, he said no, which was great. And I saved a lot of heartache. And even if we had worked together, he wouldn't have valued it. So
yeah. And that's a good point. Even the one thing I'll say on the back of that is we talk about the difference between agency and a consultant. And I think you get the agency when the person knows what they want and they want to deliver what they want, and you talk to the consultant when you don't know what you want. So you want to figure out the problem, you want to figure out what's going on. So I think with that point there, it's like, it sounded like, and fair enough, they've got a thing in their mind, this is what they want. But if you take another step back and go, should you do this? Why should you do this? What's the point of doing this? And I always think the best indicator I always get when they go like, oh, say we want to build a webinar. And when I go, well, what's led you to this point? And their explanation will tell me straight away if I want to work with them or not. Because if they go, oh, Bob did it, it's like, well, I'm out. No, I'm good. But if they go like, or if they go like, hey, we get a best engagement and we got a huge following, and there's these topics that we can't squeeze on a webinar, on a social post, and we got these really great guests we want to interview. Perfect, done.
That is great.
That all makes sense.
Yes. My last point is, in marketing, like a lot of what we need to do is say no to 95% of things, which is what people should pay for. Like that is me in that golf example, telling them not to do that business is hugely valuable in my mind. Telling someone not to do something, because most businesses shouldn't get created, in my opinion. That's one of them. Yep. I saved them $100,000 potentially.
Yes.
But they paid me.
To
what
not
did
do
they
something.
get?
Yeah, correct.
So we have that bias a little bit with, that tangibility bias. It's like, but what did I get for it?
Yep.
And you can't see what you saved from the business that you didn't build.
Yes. Which I think that there was one going around for a while there, was Mr. Beast's. Do you ever see that one of his consultant thing?
Yes.
Yeah, and he basically just said like, leverage consultants as much as you possibly can, because what would take us 3 years to figure out, they've done 10 times and we can get the answer in 10 minutes. So it's worth that money. And that's what I feel so many, even agencies, even sort of anyone, they might say no. In that point there, I would say they paid for, the opportunity cost, not to go that way, but they paid for the information to analyze why. And at least take that and go, okay, well, if that's a bad decision, well, then what would a good one look like? And if you told them like, hey, I reckon you go on your strengths, here's a market that you guys are more suited to me, you're paying for that. Again, back full circle, how much is information worth? I think if it's a good consultant, it's worth a shitload.
Oh, it's me, Alex.
Heaps. Millions. So I think that's important. And I think that's a problem too of like with marketing. I think it's like 80% research and non-tangibleness to get a really good 20% tangible work. But again, trying to justify that intangibleness, that comes down to your brand, and you just got to be trusted.
Yes. And a lot of us are people pleasers, so we don't necessarily have that. Exhausts the shit out of us. So
correct.
Here we are, full circle. But 90% up front, I'd say treat that as your success. And if you can get clear scopes, if it feels reasonable, and you go, oh, okay, I think I can actually do that. I'll have enough focus to not be doing SEO and events.
Yes, correct.
That I can actually do a decent job of something. There's some things to look at. But I think we've covered a lot in that episode.
Good.
Mr. Urquhart.
That was good.
Pleasure chatting to you.
Thanks, mate. See you next one.
See you.